The massive alien ship descended through Earth's atmosphere on a sunny Tuesday morning in 2157, its sleek silver hull reflecting the sunlight like a second sun. The world watched, united in anticipation and fear, as humanity prepared for its first official contact with the Galactic Council. Ambassador James Morgan stood at the front of the welcoming committee at the newly constructed International Spaceport in Geneva. His gray suit was pressed perfectly, and his posture remained steady despite the anxiety building in his chest. Behind him, a mix of military officers and government officials waited, each chosen carefully to represent Earth's united front. The alien ship, nearly a kilometer in length, came to rest with barely a whisper. The silence that followed felt heavy, like the whole world was holding its breath. Then, with a soft hiss, a ramp extended from the ship's side, touching down on Earth's soil. 3 tall figures emerged. Their bodies were humanoid but covered in what looked like flowing robes made of living metal. The leader, who introduced himself as High Speaker Marcus, stood nearly 7 feet tall. His metallic skin had a bluish tint that shifted in the sunlight. "Welcome to Earth," Morgan said, stepping forward with an open smile. "We are honored to receive representatives of the Galactic Council." High Speaker Marcus's translator device hummed briefly before he responded. "We accept your welcome, though we must admit some surprise at finding your civilization ready for contact. Our initial scan suggested a much more primitive society." Morgan's smile didn't waver, though he felt a slight sting at the word primitive. Humanity has made significant technological advances in recent decades. The second alien, who introduced herself as Science Observer Linda, let out a sound that might have been a laugh. "Yet you still rely on combustion engines and chemical projectiles for defense. Most fascinating. Most species we encounter have at least developed basic energy weapons before we make contact." The third alien, Military Overseer Peter, moved forward to inspect the honor guard. His eyes lingered on their ceremonial rifles. "Are these still your primary weapons?" Projectiles propelled by controlled explosions. He shook his head, the movement almost too smooth to be natural. "How do you expect to defend yourselves against plasma weapons or quantum disruptors?" Commander Wilson, standing beside Morgan, tightened his grip on his ceremonial sword. "Our weapons have served us well," he said firmly. Of course," High Speaker Marcus waved his hand dismissively. "Every young species holds onto their traditions. You'll learn soon enough. Now, shall we proceed with the formal integration assessment?" As they walked toward the conference building, Morgan could hear the aliens discussing Earth's technology in their own language, their translator devices occasionally converting snippets of conversation. Barely achieved spaceflight, still using gunpowder. At least they unified their planet. The meeting room was state-of-the-art by human standards, with holographic displays and quantum computers. The aliens, however, looked around as if they'd stepped into a museum of ancient history. "Your species will need significant technological upgrades before you can be considered for full council membership," High Speaker Marcus announced, settling into a chair that adjusted itself to his form. "However, we are willing to begin the process of integration." "We appreciate the opportunity," Morgan replied diplomatically. "Though I hope you'll find that humanity has much to offer the Council, even with our current level of technology." Military Overseer Peter activated a holographic display from his wrist device, showing various human weapon systems. "These will all need to be replaced. Energy weapons are the standard throughout civilized space. These projectile weapons are simply too primitive." Morgan noticed something interesting as the alien discussed their weapons. A slight shimmer around their bodies. Some kind of personal shield technology, he realized. Designed, no doubt, to stop energy weapons. He made a mental note to discuss this observation with Earth's military command. "We understand," Morgan said carefully, "and look forward to learning from the Council's advanced technology. However, we would prefer to maintain some of our traditional defense systems alongside any new developments." The 3 aliens shared what might have been an amused look. "Of course," High Speaker Marcus said indulgently. Keep your projectile weapons if you wish. They make for interesting historical exhibits, if nothing else." As the meeting continued, Morgan couldn't shake the feeling that the Council's dismissive attitude might someday prove to be a crucial mistake. Humanity had survived and thrived precisely because they were underestimated, and these aliens seemed determined to make the same error. 2 weeks after first contact, the Galactic Council's military assessment team arrived at Earth's largest military testing facility in Nevada. The desert sun beat down mercilessly as human forces prepared to demonstrate their combat capabilities. Military advisor Thomas Reed watched from the observation bunker as the alien representatives settled into their floating chairs. Unlike the diplomatic team, these aliens wore what appeared to be combat armor, though it looked more like liquid metal than traditional protection. Their leader, Combat Inspector Mark, made no attempt to hide his boredom. "Let us proceed with this evaluation quickly," Mark announced through his translator. "We have many other developing worlds to assess this cycle." Reed nodded to Commander Wilson, who began the demonstration. First came the aircraft display. Earth's most advanced fighter jets screamed overhead, performing complex maneuvers. The aliens watched without expression. "Atmospheric combustion engines," one alien observer noted. "Quaint." Next came the tank demonstration. The ground shook as Earth's newest battle tanks rolled across the testing ground, their tracks kicking up clouds of dust. They fired their main guns at target drones, destroying them with pinpoint accuracy. Combat Inspector Mark actually laughed. "You still use explosive propellant to launch metal projectiles. How do you handle energy shields?" "We have our methods," Reed replied quietly, remembering Ambassador Morgan's advice to stay diplomatic. The aliens' amusement grew as the infantry demonstration began. Human soldiers moved through a combat course, showing their skills with various weapons, rifles, machine guns, and even a demonstration of a new railgun prototype. "Stop, stop," Mark raised his hand. "This is becoming embarrassing. Let me show you real military technology." He pressed a button on his armor. A small drone appeared from his ship. It hummed softly as it moved to the target range. With a flash of blue light, it fired an energy beam that vaporized a tank target. "That," Mark said proudly, "is a basic civilian defense weapon in Council space." The other aliens nodded in agreement. "Perhaps we should accelerate the technological integration timeline," one suggested. "These humans are more primitive than expected." Reed noticed something interesting during the drone's demonstration. The energy beam had created a massive heat signature, easily detectable by basic sensors. He also noted how the alien observers' personal shields flickered visibly when dust from the explosions reached them. "Would you mind demonstrating your shield technology?" Reed asked carefully. Mark seemed pleased by the request. "Observe," he said, stepping onto the testing range. He activated his personal shield. A shimming blue field surrounded him. "Fire your strongest weapon." A soldier aimed a heavy machine gun at the alien. "Are you certain, sir?" he asked nervously. "Please," Mark said, sounding almost insulted. "This shield could withstand a spacecraft's main gun. Your primitive projectiles can't possibly." The soldier fired 3 rounds. The first bullet passed straight through the shield and pinged off Mark's armor, causing him to stumble backward in shock. The other 2 rounds were blocked as the shield hastily recalibrated, but the damage was done. The alien's face showed a mix of surprise and confusion. "Impossible," he muttered. "The shield should have." Reed had seen enough. The alien shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not physical projectiles. They were so focused on advanced technology that they'd forgotten the basics of physical protection. "An interesting malfunction," Reed said diplomatically, hiding his excitement. "Perhaps we should continue the assessment." The alien observers huddled together, speaking rapidly in their own language. Their translator devices were turned off, but their agitation was clear. Combat Inspector Mark finally turned back to the humans. "We will need to review this demonstration carefully. There may have been an equipment malfunction. Of course, Reed replied calmly. We look forward to your analysis. As the aliens hurried back to their ship, Reed pulled out his secure phone and sent a message to Ambassador Morgan. Shields ineffective against kinetic weapons. They've overlooked basic physics in favor of energy defense. Recommend maintaining current weapon systems alongside any new technology. The reply came quickly. Understood. Keep this quiet. Let them keep underestimating us. Reed watched the alien ship take off, a small smile playing on his lips. The Galactic Council might laugh at human weapons, but he had a feeling that laughter wouldn't last long. Sometimes the old ways were the best ways, and humanity's primitive technology might just prove to be their greatest advantage. The attack came without warning. On a quiet morning 3 months after the military assessment, the human colony on Mars erupted into chaos. 5 alien warships, their hulls painted blood red, appeared in Mars orbit and immediately opened fire on the settlement domes. Commander Anna West stood in Earth's military command center, watching the emergency transmissions with growing anger. The attackers weren't from the Galactic Council. They were raiders, a violent species that preyed on developing worlds. Send out a distress call to the Council, she ordered, and get me a live feed from Mars Defense Command. The response from the Council came quickly. This is an excellent opportunity for humanity to prove its readiness for galactic society. Handle it yourselves. West's jaw tightened as she read the message. They're testing us, she said to her staff. Fine. Let's show them what humanity can do. The main screen showed the Mars colony situation. The raiders had already destroyed 2 of the 3 defense satellites. Their ships used the same energy shield technology as the Council, making them nearly invulnerable to the colony's energy-based defense systems. Commander called out Lieutenant Baker from his station. Mars colony reports their energy weapons are having no effect. The raiders' shields are too strong. West smiled grimly. Good thing we didn't follow the Council's advice about removing our conventional weapons. She pressed a button on her command console. This is Earth Command to Mars Colony. Switch to projectile weapons. I repeat, switch to projectile weapons. The colony's defense officers seemed confused but followed orders. The remaining defense platforms swiveled, revealing rows of rail guns and missile launchers that the Council had mocked as obsolete. Fire, West commanded. The rail guns roared to life. Tungsten rods accelerated to incredible speeds, streaking toward the raider ships. The aliens, confident in their shields, didn't even try to evade. That was their first mistake. The projectiles passed through their energy shields like they weren't even there. The first volley tore through one ship's engine section, sending it spinning out of control. The second ship took hits along its weapon ports, disabling its main guns. It's working, Baker shouted. Their shields can't stop our rounds. West was already moving to the next phase. Launch the Mars Defense Fleet. All ships are cleared to use conventional weapons only. No energy weapons. They'll just waste power against those shields. Earth's first space warships rose from their hidden bunkers on Mars. They were small compared to the raider vessels, but they bristled with railguns, coil guns, and missile tubes. The Council representatives had called them museum pieces. Now they would show their true worth. The raiders, recovering from their shock, tried to regroup. Their communication channels, which Earth's systems had cracked, filled with confused chatter. Shields are at full power. How are they hitting us? What kind of weapons are these primitives using? Our sensors can't track their projectiles. The battle was brutal but quick. The raiders' advanced ships had no defense against humanity's primitive weapons. Within 20 minutes, 3 raider ships were destroyed. One was disabled, and the last had flown into deep space. In the aftermath, West received another message from the Council. This one was markedly different in tone. We are sending observers to document this incident. Maintain your position. They're not observers, West said to her staff. They're coming to figure out how we did it. She turned to her communications officer. Send a message to all Earth forces. Clear all railgun ammunition from storage. By the time they arrive, I want our weapons to look as primitive as possible." Military advisor Reed, who had been quietly watching from the back of the command center, stepped forward. "The Council's greatest weakness is their own arrogance," he said. "They're so convinced of their technological superiority that they've forgotten the basic principles of physics." West nodded. "And we're going to let them keep thinking that way. The more they underestimate us, the stronger our position becomes." As cleanup operations began around Mars, West couldn't help but smile. Humanity had just proven itself on the galactic stage, not with advanced technology, but with the very weapons the Council had laughed at. Sometimes the oldest solutions were the best ones, and humanity had just demonstrated that in spectacular fashion. The raiders returned 1 week later, but this time they weren't alone. 15 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Jupiter, their blood-red hulls gleaming in the distant sunlight. Their fleet now included larger battleships, clearly stolen or purchased from more advanced civilizations. In Earth's military command center, Commander Anna West watched the tactical display with narrowed eyes. Behind her, 3 Council observers stood with their data tablets, supposedly there to document the conflict. "Primitive humans," the Raider fleet commander's message boomed across all channels. "Your lucky victory on Mars ends today. Surrender your colonies and submit to our rule, or be destroyed." West glanced at the Council observers, who were watching with obvious interest. One of them spoke up. "Their shield technology appears to be even more advanced than last time. Most fascinating." "Indeed," West replied calmly, then turned to her crew. "Execute Battle Plan Thunder." The response was immediate. Hidden weapon platforms around Jupiter's moons powered up. But instead of the expected energy weapons, they revealed rows of massive railguns and missile launchers. The Council observers shifted uncomfortably. "What are you doing?" one asked. "Those ancient weapons cannot possibly." The first volley cut off his words. Thousands of tungsten rounds accelerated to incredible speeds, crossing the space between the platforms and the Raider fleet in seconds. The Raiders, expecting energy weapons, had their shields optimized for energy resistance. They never stood a chance. The first wave of projectiles passed through their shields like they weren't even there. Armor plating crumpled under the impact. 3 smaller ships spun out of formation, venting atmosphere into space. "Impossible." The Raider commander screamed over the comm. "Our shields are at maximum power." Second volley, West commanded. "All platforms, fire at will." More railgun rounds streaked across space, followed by salvos of missiles. The Raiders tried to adapt, adjusting their shield frequencies, but nothing could stop the simple kinetic energy of fast-moving projectiles. "Fascinating," one Council observer muttered, frantically taking notes. "They're using basic physics principles to overcome advanced shield technology." The battle spread across the Jupiter system. Human ships emerged from hiding spots around the moons, their hulls painted in dark colors to blend with space. Each one carried what the Council had dismissed as outdated weapon systems. Now those same weapons were tearing through the most advanced shields in known space. "How are they tracking us?" A Raider captain screamed over an open channel. "Our stealth systems should be." His transmission cut off as a spray of tungsten rounds shredded his bridge. West allowed herself a small smile. The Raiders didn't realize that their advanced stealth systems, designed to hide energy signatures, did nothing to mask their basic radar profile. "Launch the fighters," West ordered. Small, agile human spacecraft swarmed out from carrier ships. Instead of energy weapons, they carried rotary cannons and missile racks. The Raiders' point defense systems, calibrated for energy weapons, struggled to target the simple metal projectiles. One of the Council observers stepped forward. "Commander West, we must know. How did you develop these tactics?" West kept her eyes on the battle display. "We didn't develop anything new. We just remembered what works. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best one." The battle lasted less than an hour. Of the 15 Raider ships, 11 were destroyed, 3 were disabled, and 1 fled into deep space. Human casualties were minimal, mostly minor damage from debris impact. As the cleanup began, West received a priority message from Earth Command. The Council was requesting an emergency meeting to discuss humanity's unique military capabilities. "They're scared," Reed said, joining West at the command console. "They've just realized that their most advanced defense technology can be defeated by what they considered primitive weapons." West nodded. "And we haven't even shown them our more advanced projectile weapons yet." She turned to address her crew. "Good work, everyone. But remember, as far as the Council is concerned, we're just lucky primitives who stumbled onto a useful tactic." The Council observers huddled together, speaking rapidly in their own language. Their translator devices were turned off, but their agitation was clear. Humanity's primitive weapons had just changed the balance of power in the galaxy, and everyone knew it. In the depths of space, the wreckage of raider ships drifted silently, their advanced shields useless against the simple physics of kinetic impact. The Emergency Council meeting was held on their massive station orbiting Saturn. Representatives from 30 alien species gathered in the Great Chamber, their earlier amusement at humanity's primitive technology now replaced with poorly hidden concern. Ambassador James Morgan sat calmly at the human delegation's table, Commander West and military advisor Reed flanking him. Above them, holographic displays showed detailed analysis of the recent battles against the raiders. High Speaker Marcus stood at the central podium, his metallic skin reflecting the chamber's lights. "We have gathered to discuss the unexpected effectiveness of human military technology." He paused, clearly uncomfortable. "The Council requests a detailed explanation of your weapon systems." Morgan smiled politely. "Of course. Commander West will provide a basic overview." West stepped forward, activating her own holographic display. The image showed a simple bullet cutting through an energy shield. Several Council members shifted uneasily in their seats. "The principle is quite basic," West explained. "Your energy shields are designed to stop plasma, lasers, and other energy-based weapons. They create powerful fields that dissipate energy attacks, but they don't stop physical objects very well. Surely you don't suggest we abandon centuries of shield development?" One Council member asked, alarmed. "Not at all," West replied. "We're simply pointing out that overlooking basic physical principles can be dangerous. Our primitive weapons exploit a fundamental weakness in your defenses." The chamber erupted in worried discussions. Morgan noticed several military representatives frantically taking notes, while others argued about shield modifications. A new alien ship appeared on the main display, a raider vessel, heavily modified with the latest shield technology. "We've recovered this from the recent battle," High Speaker Marcus announced. "Our best engineers have enhanced its shields. Surely now they can stop your projectile weapons." Morgan exchanged glances with West and Reed. They had expected this. "We would be happy to demonstrate," Morgan said carefully, "with the Council's permission." Minutes later, the test was set up in Saturn's orbit, far from any crucial infrastructure. The modified raider ship hung in space, its new shields glowing with power. A single human destroyer took position opposite it. "Our engineers have spent the last week improving these shields," Marcus announced proudly. "They now generate multiple layers of energy fields specifically designed to stop physical objects." West spoke quietly into her comm unit. Single shot. Main gun. The human destroyer's railgun fired once. The tungsten rod, accelerated to a fraction of light speed, crossed the space in an instant. The enhanced shields flared brilliantly, and the projectile passed through them like they weren't there, punching a clean hole through the test ship's hull. Silence fell in the Council chamber. "Impossible," someone whispered. "The calculations." Reed stepped forward. "Your shield calculations didn't account for one simple fact. At the speeds our weapons operate, the energy field doesn't have time to react. By the time your shields detect the projectile, it's already passed through." More displays activated, showing detailed analysis of human weapon systems. The council members watched in growing amazement as humanity revealed just how much thought had gone into their primitive technology. "We don't just use simple bullets," West explained. "Our rail guns can accelerate projectiles to incredible speeds. We have computerized targeting systems, advanced materials for our ammunition, and specialized rounds for different situations. We've been developing these weapons for centuries." All this time, High Speaker Marcus said slowly, while we focused on energy weapons and thought ourselves superior. "You left yourselves vulnerable to basic physics," Morgan finished diplomatically. "But perhaps we can work together now. Humanity would be happy to share our expertise in kinetic weapons in exchange for learning about your energy weapon systems." The council chamber buzzed with excited discussion. Several military representatives were already approaching the human delegation, eager to begin weapons development collaboration. In the background, Reed watched with satisfaction as the council members who had once laughed at human weapons now crowded around West, asking detailed questions about railgun technology and projectile design. "Quite a change from their first reaction to our guns," he murmured to Morgan. The ambassador nodded. "Amazing what a few demonstrations can do. Though I suspect we should keep some of our more advanced projectile weapon designs to ourselves. For now." Above them, the holographic displays continued to show the simple beauty of human ingenuity, proving that sometimes the oldest solutions were still the best ones. 1 month after the emergency council meeting, Earth's orbital shipyards were busier than ever. Alien vessels from dozens of species lined up for what they called defensive modifications. In other words, they wanted human weapons. Commander West stood in the observation deck of Earth's newest space station, watching as workers installed railgun systems on a massive council battleship. Below her, military advisor Reed was conducting a training session for alien military officers. "The key to kinetic weapons," Reed explained to his audience, "isn't just the projectile. It's understanding how to use them effectively." He pointed to a diagram showing different types of ammunition. Each target requires a different approach. The alien officers, once proud of their energy weapons, now took notes eagerly. Their earlier mockery of human primitive technology had been replaced by genuine respect. Ambassador Morgan joined West at the window. "The council's latest report just came in," he said, holding up a data tablet. "Raider attacks across the galaxy have dropped by 70% since word spread about our weapons. Amazing what a few holes in their shields can do for their attitude." West replied with a slight smile. The station's alert system suddenly pinged. A council diplomatic vessel was requesting emergency docking. Minutes later, High Speaker Marcus hurried onto the observation deck, his metallic skin reflecting the Earth's blue glow from the window. "We need your help," he said without preamble. "A group of raiders has attacked one of our core worlds. They've found a way to enhance their shields against kinetic weapons." West and Morgan exchanged glances. They had expected something like this would happen eventually. "Show us," West said. Marcus activated a holographic display. It showed a new type of raider ship, its hull covered in layered shield generators. "They've created a system that projects multiple shield layers with varying frequencies. Our weapons can't penetrate them. And now our standard energy weapons are useless too." "Have they attacked yet?" Morgan asked. "They're holding position, demanding tribute from the planet." Marcus looked uncomfortable. "The Council formally requests Earth's military assistance." West stepped to a console and studied the tactical data. "Those shield modifications look impressive," she said, "but they've made a basic mistake." She pressed a button, and a new hologram appeared, showing a prototype weapon that the humans had kept secret. It looked like a standard railgun, but with significant modifications. "We call it the sequencer," West explained. "It fires multiple rounds in a precise pattern, each one weakening the shield layer it hits, creating a path for the final penetrator round." She turned to Marcus. "We developed it weeks ago, expecting something like this would happen. The High Speaker's expression was a mixture of relief and embarrassment. You anticipated this, while we were still celebrating our new defenses. Morgan stepped in diplomatically. Let's just say we've learned to think ahead. Commander West, how quickly can we deploy? The Third Fleet is ready for immediate departure, West replied. All ships are already equipped with sequencers. Within hours, Earth's warships were underway, their hulls gleaming with a mix of human ingenuity and alien technology. The raiders, thinking they had finally found a way to counter humanity's weapons, were about to learn another harsh lesson. As the fleet prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, Reed joined West on the flagship's bridge. You know, he said quietly, we could have shared the sequencer technology earlier. West nodded. Sometimes the best lessons are learned through experience. The Council needed to understand that we're not just lucky primitives who stumbled onto a useful trick. And now they know that humanity hasn't revealed all its cards. She smiled as she watched the fleet align for jump. Sometimes being underestimated is the greatest advantage of all. The ships vanished in flashes of light, carrying human technology to yet another battle. Behind them, Earth's shipyards continued their work, combining the best of both worlds, human practical innovation and alien advanced science. In the observation deck, Marcus watched them go, finally understanding that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons, but their ability to never stop innovating, never stop improving, and never accept being called primitive. 6 months after the first Raider attack, the Galactic Council chamber had changed dramatically. Where once energy weapons had been displayed proudly on the walls, now human railguns and coilguns stood alongside them. And at the center of the chamber, a new seat had been added, humanity's permanent position on the Council's Defense Committee. Ambassador Morgan sat in that seat now, watching as High Speaker Marcus addressed the gathered representatives. Behind him, Commander West and military advisor Reed stood at attention, their uniforms bearing both human and council insignia. 1 year ago, Marcus began, his voice carrying across the chamber. We welcomed humanity to the galactic community with less than full respect. A murmur of embarrassed agreement rippled through the audience. Today, we acknowledge that this was perhaps the greatest mistake in recent council history. The main display activated, showing statistics from the past 6 months. Raider attacks had dropped by 90%. Trade routes once plagued by pirates were now safe. And dozens of worlds once considered too vulnerable to join the Council were now under protection. Human weapon systems have been installed on over 500 Council vessels, Marcus continued. Their military advisors have trained forces from 30 different species, and their innovative approach to combining kinetic and energy weapons has revolutionized our understanding of space combat. West stepped forward at Marcus's gesture. The key was never about choosing between old and new technology, she explained. It was about understanding that every technology has its place. Our latest ships now carry both railguns and plasma cannons, conventional missiles, and quantum torpedoes. The display shifted to show Earth's newest warship class. Its sleek hull contained both human and alien technology, a perfect blend of primitive and advanced engineering. Several council members nodded approvingly, the same ones who had once laughed at human weapons. But perhaps most importantly, Marcus said, humanity has taught us a valuable lesson about innovation. They never stopped improving their so-called primitive technology. While we focused solely on energy weapons, they explored every possible avenue of advancement. Reed activated another display, showing the new defense systems being installed around Council worlds. Simple solutions often work best, he explained. By combining basic physics with advanced technology, we've created defenses that can stop both energy and kinetic attacks. Morgan stood to address the chamber. The Council once asked us to prove ourselves worthy of membership, he said. We did so not by abandoning our ways, but by showing how our methods could complement and enhance galactic technology. And now, Marcus announced, we have a proposal for humanity. He activated a final display, showing plans for a massive new facility. The Council wishes to establish the Combined Weapons Development Center on Earth, a place where human innovation can work alongside alien technology to create the next generation of defensive systems. The chamber erupted in applause. Species that had once looked down on humanity now stood in respect. The same primitive humans they had laughed at were now leading the Council into a new era of military technology. After the session, West found Reed staring at one of the old human rifles mounted on the chamber wall. "Thinking about how far we've come?" she asked. "Thinking about how sometimes the oldest ideas are the best ones," he replied. "We just have to be willing to keep improving them." Morgan joined them, holding a data tablet with the latest reports. "The Raiders have officially requested peace talks," he said. "Apparently, our latest hybrid weapons systems have convinced them that raiding isn't profitable anymore." "And the Council?" West asked. "They finally stopped calling us primitive," Morgan smiled. "Though I notice none of them are laughing at our guns anymore." The three humans looked out the chamber's massive window at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, human ingenuity was still spreading through the galaxy, teaching advanced civilizations that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most effective. And on the chamber wall, an ancient human projectile weapon stood proudly next to the most advanced energy cannon in known space, a reminder that progress doesn't always mean abandoning the past, but building upon it to create something new. The galaxy had learned not to laugh at human weapons, but more importantly, they had learned that true advancement comes not from dismissing the old, but from understanding that every technology, no matter how simple it seems, has value when used wisely.